Okay, let's get started. G'day, my name is Domenic Carosa. I'm the founder and chairman of Banxa. What I'd like to do is just take you through the investor deck, and maybe before I do that, just to paint the picture of the digital asset market, or some people call it the cryptocurrency market. It's very much moving from the domain of the tech nerds, such as myself, to really being much more open with regards to family offices and institutions, and they're really seeing it as a new asset class. One of the key metrics in the industry that we use is the number of cryptocurrency wallets, and that's continuing to increase on quite a rapid basis. And then we have Coinbase, which is a large US exchange that will be listing on NASDAQ very soon. And we think that's a great bellwether for the entire industry. We've also, I'm sure most of you have heard of Paul Tudor Jones. He's considered the father of the modern day hedge fund. Mid 2020, he took his first step by buying Bitcoin, and right now he actually, the last I heard, he holds a couple of % of his fund in Bitcoin. And I'm sure everyone on the call today has also seen Elon Musk talking about Bitcoin, and I guess he was a little bit slow to uptake, but he's now kind of, as we say in the industry, he's seen the light. In terms of Banxa, our vision is to bring cryptocurrencies, digital assets, to every part of the globe, and I'll talk more about how we actually are planning to do that. In terms of a snapshot, where Banxa is the world's first listed on a stock exchange payment service provider for the digital asset industry. So we're the first PSP to be listed anywhere in the world, and there's a number of reasons why that's the case. And what we are doing, and as I've written there, it's, we're very much like the Stripe or the PayPal, specifically for the digital asset industry. And I'll explain why we process more than just payments. And what we are doing at Banxa is building a bridge between the existing fiat world. And when I say fiat, I mean the US dollar, the euro, the Canadian, Australian dollar, and the new digital asset world, which could be Bitcoin, Ethereum. So in effect, we're the picks and the shovels of the industry. And our business is B2B, business to business focused. That's highly scalable and low touch, and growing in the overall market. And one of the very interesting things that I think is very important to take away is whether the price of Bitcoin, which is a bellwether for the industry, is going up or down, we are actually able to clip the ticket. And in fact, some of our biggest days we've ever had was when the actual Bitcoin price went down 10 or 15%. So volatility is, in fact, very positive for our business. There are, what do we do? What does Banxa do? And I've broken this down into 4 key pillars. First of all, we process payments. We have a payment processing platform, and we offer global payments like MasterCard, Visa, and Apple Pay. And then we offer local payments like Interact in Canada and SEPA in Europe and Ideal in the Netherlands, and many, many other payment options. So in effect, we have a range of payment options that we provide to our customers. And then also part of our platform, given the industry today, as compared to when we started the business in 2014, is highly regulated in nature, with full AML KYC. Banxa has multiple digital asset licenses and registrations around the world. We have a full compliance and regulatory department that's made up of people, but we also have a technology platform that augments that platform. So that's really the second key pillar of Banxa. The third pillar is a technology platform that we have been building for almost 8 years, that is a highly scalable platform that basically manages the market pricing, data, payments across an API and a widget that we provide and plug into our customers. And then the fourth pillar is our smart order delivery routing technology. And it's a bit of a sort of technical jargon there, but ultimately what we do is we are able to deliver that coin to the customer in the most efficient, cost-effective manner. And with things like on and off chain delivery, if people want to get nerdy with me, I'm happy to delve into that. But I think in effect, it's just delivering the coin. So what we do is effectively package up these four pillars of a combination of technology and intellectual capital. And then we plug this payment infrastructure with everything else that I've spoken about into global exchanges around the world. And we effectively take the process and the burden out of processing payments, being regulated in multiple markets, managing the risks, and then delivering the coin. And so the way that we work with our customers, and we have about almost 50 customers to date, is that we plug in what is called an API, which is just another fancy name for a technical connection between our company and Binance or Bybit or Edge Wallet or Trezor, which we actually announced quite recently. And so we help our customers acquire more customers in more countries because we deal and manage not only the payments, but all the regulatory layer associated with it and then deliver that coin. And what that looks like, if today you log on to Binance in Canada as a new customer, you basically don't start it with any Bitcoin. You effectively start with zero. And so you would, within Binance, you would click on Banxa to say you want to buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. You would go through our AML KYC process, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens behind the scenes. And then once you pay with Interact, which is the local payment method in Canada, we will deliver that coin into your Binance wallet within minutes, ready for you to start trading, whether you want to trade a BTC, ETH pair, or whatever else you want to do at that particular point. And we do offer almost a dozen different coins, with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDT being the main coins that people want out there. The way that we make money is that we charge a combination of commission and spread depending upon the partner or supplier that we're working with. And so that is our revenue model today. We clip the ticket when someone uses our platform to convert fiat to Bitcoin or US dollar to Ethereum, by way of example. And that's the model today. Moving forward, as we continue building out our payment infrastructure, there will be other services such as those that you would typically find at a financial institution, like borrowing and lending, interest-bearing accounts, that will effectively augment what we're already doing in the payment space. One of the ways that we measure how the company is going is through a measure called TTV, Total Transaction Value. And as you can see, we've had quite significant growth in the business in the last 6 quarters. I should note that the last bar that you see on your right-hand side is for January and February only. So the December quarter contains 3 months, and we've only announced to date our January and February numbers, and imminently next week we will provide our March numbers and ultimately the March quarter. I'm not able to tell you exactly what that is, but what I will say is just follow the trend. And that will give you an insight on what that number is. And I think most investors will be quite pleased when they actually see those particular results. This is a bit of an overview with regards to the capital structure. There's just shy of 41 million shares on issue, and then there's a bunch of stock options, employee ESOP, very much about aligning the team and making sure that we are absolutely all focused and committed to the organization. And for those of you that are able to download a copy of this report, there's actually some research out there by Fundamental Research. Feel free to, if you like, drop me an email and I'll be able to send you a copy of this deck. It will be available online, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Now moving forward, and I should also say that we are also listed on the TSX-v, the OTCQX, and the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Some of the comparables in the market are, I think I haven't checked the market cap of Banxa this morning, but the last time I checked, we were just over $200 million of market cap. There are a number of comparables. In terms of, if I take Big, for example, that has a market cap of about 50 to 60% larger than us. And if you go and have a look at their December quarter numbers as compared to ours, you'll see that they are a fraction of the size. And the way I guess that I'd like to maybe better describe the business in terms of, let's call it the evolution, we'd actually be more in line with where Galaxy Digital is, and they've got a market cap of, in fact, I think now approaching 3 billion, or just over 3 billion, I should say. Our top 10 shareholders, board and management, represent about 27% of the company. So we are absolutely aligned with the success of the organization. The next three investors are all institutional funds based out of Singapore and Australia. And then we have actually a number of customers, OKX Exchange and KuCoin, who also sit on the register. And in fact, we've got a few exchanges that are talking to us about joining the register as well. In terms of the catalyst for growth, it's really just continued focus on execution, on building out more payments, adding more customers. The second point there, as you can see, is continue to grow our customer base from the roughly 50 customers that we have today. And we've written there a target of 500. There are thousands of exchanges and wallets out in the marketplace. And in fact, there are more and more that are growing each month. But we've identified the top 500 in each of those core segments that we're going after. And now that we've listed the company and we've already raised some capital, it will give us the fuel to accelerate going after more B2B customers. We will also continue expanding our payment platform across the world. And that just means adding more local payment methods. And I'll tell you why this is actually important, because I'm sure this is going to be one of the questions that I'll get. And that is, if you're a brand new customer, buying with the credit card, it's fine. If you want to buy $500 worth of Bitcoin, it's not so much of an issue. The fees with credit card are usually quite high, 5 to 7%. But as soon as you start doing larger transactions, a 5 to 7% commission, and it's not just us, that's just industry wide, because credit card is expensive to process. You want to use a local payment method. And if you're in Canada, you want to use Interact. If you're in the Netherlands, you want to use Ideal. If you're in Australia, you want to use Poly. And it basically means that your processing, typically it's faster and much cheaper. The fourth catalyst for growth is the expansion of the number of coins. So adding more coins to our platform, as well as opportunities in the DeFi and the NFT space. And if people have got questions around that specifically, feel free to ask. And also what we're starting to see is there is an increased interest in and acceptance in digital assets, and the fact that more and more public companies are getting listed and there's greater acceptance by investors of the sector, I think augments well for us as well. In terms of our team, as I mentioned, I'm the founder and chair. My next three non-exec directors, Matthew Kane, Doron Cohen, and Jim Landau. Between the three of them, they have over 50 years of public company and technology experience. And then our team is led by Holger Arians, our CEO. As you can maybe tell by the name, he's a German national. And as I like to say, he runs the company with German precision. And then it's rounded off by Constantine, who's our CFO, ex-EY, Josh, our general manager, ex-EY, and then Ian Clark, our CTO, ex-Goldman Sachs. So this really rounds out the presentation deck. And maybe what I'd like to do at this point is invite some questions. So feel free to ask some questions. Alex, yes, you're welcome in regards to hosting the webinar. Question is, how would incumbents like PayPal or Visa affect Banxa's business since they started accepting e-commerce transactions using crypto? And yes, we've seen that particular news ourselves. So first of all, I think there's a couple of key things. One is Visa. We've actually been accepting Visa for a number of years, and you would have seen, I think it was a couple of days ago, Visa came out and said they're settling using the blockchain and USDC, which is basically a stable coin. And what that basically means is they're now actually starting to leverage the power of the internet and the power of the blockchain to actually settle transactions using the actual blockchain. And so that's point number one. PayPal came out and said they will allow their merchants to accept Bitcoin, and that's great. PayPal came out mid last year and said they will allow the buying and selling within their network, within their wallet of Bitcoin and some other coins. You can't transfer them out of the system. You can only buy and sell within their particular platform. And the fact that they will allow more of their customers to actually accept Bitcoin for e-commerce, that's great for our industry, because that just means the acceptance of Bitcoin and other digital assets only increases. And just to be super clear, our business model is not actually competing with PayPal. Our business model is providing the payment infrastructure, the regulatory layer to global exchanges and global wallets out there. And we take care of not only the payment, but as I mentioned earlier, all of the compliance, because each country around the world now has different rules and regulations. The other question that Alex asks is, why is Banxa only doing fiat to crypto, but not crypto to fiat? Good question. So today, most of our total transaction volume is fiat to crypto. In Australia, we have already launched in beta the ability to go from crypto to fiat. And so that's launched, it's running, it's actually working as we speak. And it's only a matter of time until we launch this and roll this out to all of our customers. And I know one of the questions that I will usually get is, will that actually double your TTV? And my view is, I don't believe it will double our TTV. It will maybe add another 40 to 60% on top of our TTV. But that's actually a good thing, because that's one of the beauties of our business model, is the fact that there's a high degree of leverage in our business model. Whether we're doing 100 million, 200 million, or a billion or 2 billion, the technology actually does the heavy lifting. Derek asks, what are your plans that Banxa owns bitcoin.ca, bitcoin.com.au, and a whole bunch of premium domain names? What's our plan there? The plan there is we are already running bitcoin.com.au in Australia, powered by Banxa. Obviously, when someone new wants to enter the space, one of the first things that they'll do is search for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's very much, I guess, synonymous with cryptocurrency. And because we actually own the premium domain names in a number of countries, including Canada, Australia, the UK, Europe, people will be able to go to that website, or they can go to that website and buy, and it's powered by Banxa. So think of it as just another marketing channel for instant buy. Gunter asks, how will you be dealing with security? This is obviously I guess that's part of the secret sauce. And obviously on the webinar, I'm not going to be in a position to reveal exactly what we do from a security perspective. But let's just say that we have been in this space since 2014. We've seen it all. In fact, we're always seeing new things and new ways that people are trying to cheat the system. And that's part of the value and part of the secret sauce in our technology platform, is the fact that there's a high degree of security, because we are dealing with dollars and cents, we're dealing with Bitcoins. And so that's obviously a very, very important factor for us. And one thing that I think is just worth noting is, we do not hold any customer funds, and we do not hold any customer coins. And we made this decision early on to not do that, because that significantly de-risks the business, because effectively we're processing the payment. We've got the compliance layer, the regulatory layer with multiple licenses and registrations around the world. We've got our technology that basically does the heavy lifting, and then we deliver that coin in the most efficient way to that particular customer. So they're basically some of the key questions that I've had so far. If you have a couple other questions, I think we've got time for a few more questions. If you've got a question, feel free to ask, because I think it's a I guess this is the right kind of forum. Actually, I've got a question here from James saying, "What's the benefit of listing the company?" Good question, James. There's a couple of reasons why why we decided to list the company. One was to increase the visibility of the company around the world, and being listed helps us do that. And the fact that we are listed with audited accounts, an independent board, I believe augments well for the future. As I mentioned right from the start, we are the first payment service provider servicing the digital asset market, and none of our competitors actually are listed. We're the only one that's listed, and I know that we've won business because of the fact that we are listed. Travis asks, Derek asks, is there any plan for Banxa to eventually host to a major US exchange like NASDAQ? Derek, I was going to say that's almost like, as I call it, a Dorothy Dix question. Thank you for that question. That was going to be my next point on why we actually chose the TSX-v. We are dual listed on the OTCQX and Frankfurt. But one of the other reasons that we chose the TSX is after we are listed for 12 months, there is effectively like a fast track process. And ultimately, in my view, if you're asking me for my view is Banxa belongs on NASDAQ. That will eventually be our home. We've only been listed for about 3 months, so we still have a lot of work to do in building the organization. But yeah, that's a very good question. I think ultimately that's where I believe, belong as an organization. Travis, does Banxa plan to hold any cryptos as treasury assets? As you've seen in the December, I'm not sure if you saw the December quarter results, we actually did hold some cryptos at that particular point in time. And that will chop and change according to the market. But yes, that's something that we as a company will look at. And if it makes sense, we will certainly be holding Bitcoin. Particularly, I think Bitcoin's the right one to be holding as a treasury asset. Gunter asked, do you have a financial outlook for the next 3 months, and how is March going? So Gunter, obviously I cannot provide a forecast. What I can do is suggest that you have a read of the couple of research reports that are out in the marketplace, including one that's linked from this particular presentation. And let's just say March, actually, I'm not going to say it, because until I announce it to the market, I'm just not in a position to say. Suffice to say, if you go back to that TTV graph, the trend is continuing. And I think not only us as an organization, but also as shareholders, I think everyone will be quite pleased. Craig asks, we've got time for a few more questions. Craig asks, how do you manage your crypto coin inventory? Specifically, how do you manage growth with ensuring you have enough inventory? Good question. Because we're a payment service provider, we're not like a shop, like a Walmart that needs to buy stock, have it in the warehouse, or have it on the shop floor, hoping that people coming in and buy. As a customer buys, we lock in that price, and then back to back, we have a number of wholesale upstream providers that we buy from. And so that's effectively how we manage it. We will match the buyer with the upstream provider. And we do hold a very small amount of inventory, just in terms of, let's call it more for an efficiency perspective. We do run our own Bitcoin and other nodes, just to effectively provide a more seamless transaction for the customers. But we don't have to hold inventory per se. Terence asks, why did Banxa not go public in Australia first? Coming back to my points around the TSX-v being much more open to blockchain and crypto companies, and the fact that there is an absolute clear path to listing on NASDAQ, because as I mentioned, we, Banxa belongs on NASDAQ is my personal view. Andrew asks, do you have plans for an app? The answer is we don't, Andrew. And the reason why is we're actually not let's call it a consumer first product. We empower the crypto industry. We help exchanges around the world and wallets like Edge Wallet. That's one of our wallets that we work with, where we have provided our payment infrastructure. We help them do all the transactions, because unlike when we first got involved in the business in 2013, where there were no rules, it was, as I call it, the Wild West. These days, the industry is highly regulated. It's full AML KYC, like the big banks do, or a broking firm. It's having the appropriate licenses in multiple parts of the world. And so we take not only the payment burden, but also the regulatory burden away from all of our customers. We make their life easier, and we can effectively do it at a much more cost-effective manner, as opposed to each exchange trying to do that around the world themselves, because it will cost them millions and millions of dollars, because we can amortize the cost of that across all of our customers. Derek asks, what are the plans for the funds generated from the recent financing? It's really, Derek, it's doubling down. We're going from one BDM that managed to bring on 50 customers over the last 18 months. We're hiring another 3. In fact, we've already hired some. We are more than doubling our support team from 20 to close to 50, including the onboarding, which will mean the customer experience and the customer service will be much stronger. We will continue building out the technology platform to add more coins, to add more payment methods. And so really the money that we will be using to further accelerate the growth of the company, in order to just try and grow as quickly as possible, because tomorrow it's every day is a growth opportunity for us. Frank asks, we're a global crypto play. Where does your majority of business come from? Mostly Europe or Australia? We haven't broken down that into detail, but 80% of our, if you want to call it fiat, represents US dollar, Canadian, Euro, GBP, which is Great British Pounds, and Australian dollar. And that to a degree mimics, let's call it, the opportunity and the fund flows around the world. We will be adding other currencies over the next little while. Abiesk, if I've pronounced your name tomorrow, if tomorrow Bitcoin is banned and governments issue their own digital currencies, would this impact the banks' business model? I think first and foremost, trying to ban Bitcoin is like trying to put the genie back in the bottle. It is just impossible to do. And I'll tell you why. China tried to do this a number of years ago and they failed, even with the Great Firewall of China. India is talking about it. My personal view is they will fail. And there are enough countries in the world that will embrace Bitcoin and Ethereum and all of these other coins, where you can no longer ban it. This industry is now too large. And this is why we're actually a big proponent of regulation. Unlike 6, 7, 8 years ago, there was no regulation. The fact that it's now regulated, it's good. It's part of the whole industry growing up. Alex asks, are you thinking of any potential M&A activities in the near term future? The answer is, frankly, for the next 12 months, we have so much organic growth just sitting there, waiting to come on board. Even if we're going from 50 customers over the next few years to 500, that will have a material impact on our TTV. So there is significant organic growth to be had, which is why we are adding to our team, adding to the business development team, adding to our customer success team to really double down in building a great business. Okay, I think at this point we've been going for just over 30 minutes. I'd like to thank everyone for their time and for their questions. Hopefully, this is actually recorded, and I will be able to send a version of this out to all of you that participated. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Ciao.